Hey everybody, Ian here. So happy February 9th. Sorry I didn't upload yesterday. I was planning on it and I was going to watch the movie Sweet Home Alabama starring Reese Witherspoon. Um, and I think I was just wiped out from Sunday from watching all the. I watched four movies in like 36 hours on Saturday and Sunday, and I was just wiped yesterday. I was like, I can't watch another movie. So I'm back tonight. It's like 10:15 while I'm filming this. I just finished the movie for today, which is 13 going on 30. But before I go in any farther into this, I just want to say, remind you to like and share this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Those are very helpful to me. But so let's just get into 13 going on 30. I'll start with just my overall feeling on the film, which was that this was just, oh my gosh, completely charming. This was just an utterly delightful film. I loved it. This is like, I feel like this is one of my favorite movies now. I've never seen it before. And I just loved it. I just loved it. I thought it was fun and cute and sweet and seemed like it had a decent message, you know. I don't know if it was the point of the film. But it was just really nice. It was just really good and cute and very girly. I'll say it's a very girly movie. Even from the start, it's a the opening credits are in pink with like sparkles every time a new person's name like comes onto the screen, which I liked. And so immediately, even in the opening credits, I was like, oh my gosh, I like this movie already. And then the rest of it was just it was so good. Even though the plot of it was really cheesy. And so I'll get into the writing for like what I I didn't like about the writing is that the basic plot of this movie is that she wakes up, she's 13 and then she wakes up one day and she's 30. And the way it happens I thought was cheesy and like corny. It's her friend has found like wishing dust, and she's been stressed out from like middle school problems, and she wishes that she was 30 because she sees this article title saying like 30 flirty and fabulous or something like that. I can't remember if that's exactly what it is, but so she doesn't wish on the wishing dust. She doesn't say, oh, I wish I was 30. Thank God, because the presence of wishing dust alone is already bad enough. Thank God she doesn't do that. She's just saying, oh, I wish I was 30, while some of the wishing dust spills on her. And that's kind of the end of what I don't like about this movie, although there's still a couple things here and there that are like, left a little bit open-ended or not really, explored enough. But the way it works after that is that it's not like 17 again or like Freaky Friday where she wakes up in her same bed in her same house with, except just a different age, or I guess in a different body in the case of Freaky Friday. She wakes up when she's 30 in the apartment that she has grown up and rented, and with the cell phone that she now owns, and with the boyfriend that she now has, and the job that she now has, but she has no memory of any of it. The last memory she has is of her 13th birthday, which was a disaster socially. Just some bitchy girls were bitchy to her, and they sent her into the closet for like 7 minutes in heaven, except then they never sent the guy in. They all just ditched her, and so she was just alone in there. Bad 13th birthday party. But she finds out over the course of this movie, or really over the course of the next 20 or 25 minutes, that she has been a really, really bad person. The audience is finding this out along with her. And it's kind of Kimmy Schmidt vibes in that it's this person, the last real memories of society they have are being like 13 or 14 years old, and suddenly they are in the working world of Manhattan. And so there's lots of, figuring stuff out and like, oh my God, what's that? What's that? What's that cell phone? What's that? What's that 9/11 thing people keep talking about? I was actually, I'll talk about this in a little bit. I was thinking about all the stuff she must have missed, and 9/11 was on that list, as was like Bill Clinton and just, I don't know, lots of things. But so anyway, she finds out that she has not been a good person, like a bad person. She steals ideas at work, and her assistant is like terrified of her. And so apparently she yells and is super mean to her assistant, and her assistant mentions something about how like, oh, you told me never to ever let you know when your mom or dad calls. And it's like, oh my God, she doesn't even talk to like her family, and she's I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, it turns out she was super rude in high school too. She is now friends with one of those bitchy girls from her birthday. She like sought their approval and is now friends with a really just mean person who's actually played by Judy Greer. But so that's just kind of the general plot of this movie, and like I said, I don't like the wishing dust part, but I like the rest of the movie once it got going and she was 30. I thought Jennifer Garner did a good job. I thought she was just delightful. And this is also starring Mark Ruffalo and Judy Greer, who I just adore. I always like her when she's in things. I'm like, oh my God, Judy Greer. I know her from Arrested Development. Like, say goodbye to these. But so I really liked her in that. And then I really liked her in... Sorry, there's a truck outside, I guess. And my window's open. I liked her in Archer. She was the voice of Cheryl / Carol / Charlene / Crystal. But also Andy Serkis is in this, and the entire movie I could not place who he was. He looked kind of like an off-brand Mr. Bean, but Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson, the guy who plays Mr. Bean, had just been in Love Actually, and I was like, okay, I know it's not him, and I don't think I would have thought it was him, but I was like, I know it's not him. But when I was looking at the cast after it was over, I was like, Andy Serkis. I know him as being the guy who was Gollum in Lord of the Rings. So you don't even see him in Lord of the Rings, but I've seen him in pictures of, like the cast and whatever. And also I'll move on soon. One like kind of small appearance. It was when they were all 13. And so we only see this kid very, very briefly. But there was this kid that I recognized. Let me find his name. His name is Alex Black. And he played the young version of a guy named Chris Grandy. He was one of the popular kids. And I was like, I know him. He just kind of had a recognizable face, but I couldn't picture where I knew him from. And so I didn't know his name either. And so I just looked up the cast of the movie, and I found the guy that is him. I was like, oh, I can tell by the shape of his face in his picture that that's him. And so I clicked on him, and one of the second pictures I immediately recognized who he was because of the costume in this picture. If you watched Ned's Declassified, like School Survivor Guide, or actually, I think it's Survival Guide. I don't think it's Survivor Guide, but whichever one it is, this kid, Alex Black, the young version of Chris Grandy in the very beginning of 13 Going on 30, was the kind of like the airheaded jock on Ned's Declassified. He had like long, kind of not long, but like feathery blonde hair, and he was always in a green tracksuit, and he was always like spinning his basketball. And that's him. And as soon as I saw the green tracksuit, I was like, it's him. It's that guy whose character's name I don't remember in Ned's Declassified. But it was like, oh my God, that's totally him. It's totally him. He has a very square jaw and then pronounced chin. And it's like, yeah, that's him. And I never would have known, like, remembered that that's what I knew him from. Ned's Declassified never would have occurred to me. I liked that show when it was on. I feel like that was a creative show. But so anyway, I was talking about the writing, and then I just kind of moved on to just general stuff. The acting in it was good. Most of the acting was done by those three main people. Jennifer Gardner, who, like I said, was just delightful in this movie. Mark Ruffalo, who was good. I think he's a good actor. I think he's a respected actor. And then Judy Greer, who I just adore. She's hilarious. Even though she's not particularly funny in this movie, she's not the funny character. I just think she is very funny. The directing, it was fun. Like I always say, I don't know a lot about directing, and so it's not something I'm paying attention the entire time I'm watching the movie, looking for the directing. But there were some of those shots and some of those kind of cuts and like pullbacks, like when and reveals that were fun and interesting and not necessarily telling, but fun. And there were things that were funny, like, you know, a character would be saying a line, and this would be the frame, and then they would pull back, and the extra stuff that you see in the frame makes that line they just said a little bit funnier, or sometimes even significantly funnier. And so some thought had gone into the directing. It was a fun movie, and it was fun. I felt like they did a good job a couple times of making it, if a character is uncomfortable, they did a very good job of framing it so that it felt uncomfortable to look at, you know. And she's like the only person dancing on the floor. It's very shot from very, very far away, and you can see how big the dance floor is and how alone she is. And it's like, you know, if you the same shot 10 feet closer would have had a lesser impact. And the music, I gotta say, was fun too. There wasn't a soundtrack, and so I guess I would take some points off, you know, off for that. There wasn't a score. I mean, that's what I meant to say. It was a soundtrack of just a lot of '80s songs. "I Want to Dance with Somebody" was playing at one point. That's Whitney Houston. Which, interestingly, that song is a now regarded as a staple '80s song. If you listen to any '80s playlist, that song will probably be on it. "I Want to Dance with Somebody" by Whitney Houston. And I like that song a lot. I've always liked that song. Excuse me. But apparently when that came out in like 85 or 86 or whatever, it got kind of like mixed reviews. People were like, eh. Or not people, but song reviewers. They were saying like, oh yeah, this is nothing special. It's just '80s, you know, generic, whatever. And then it was just kind of as time wore on, that song just stuck around in a way that I guess all the other songs, including other songs of hers from that album, just didn't stick around the way that song did. But I like that song. Oh, but so that song was playing. There was some Madonna. Oh, one of the things you see in the beginning, when she's 13 years old, she has a picture of Madonna in, you know, 1984. And this looks like it's in the mid-'80s. Because when she's 30, it's 2004. And so I guess she would have been born in 1974. So I guess 87 is when it starts. There's a picture of Madonna in her room, like a frame picture. I guess she likes Madonna. And then after she wakes up all grown up, that same picture of Madonna is hanging on her wall and is like autographed. And it's like, you know, oh, what's her name? Jenna, you know, call me whenever you want margaritas, love Madonna, XOXO, something like that. And it was like, oh, okay, so she's made it big. And she works, she's not the head editor, but she is a high-ranking worker at a magazine. It's called Poise magazine. And just the vibe of this, I know I was talking about this earlier, I just adored this movie. I thought it was fun and light and very, just a fun experience, and very cute and very sweet. And it was predictable in the sense that, you know, the girl and the guy end up together, but it was you know, it's kind of one of those things where it's about the journey, not the destination. And I feel like that's the case for a lot of these romantic comedies, because they have the same structure, which is that, you know, these one or two of these people like each other, and they get together and things go right until they go wrong, until they go right again. And then there's a happy ending. You know, it wouldn't be a romantic comedy if it had a sad ending. It would be like a drama. Or dramedy, I guess. But the vibe of this movie, I just loved. And I felt like it had a good, I don't know, I was telling you earlier, I don't know if this was the message of the film, but what I took away from the film, watching everyone just start to adore her, Jennifer Garner's character, after apparently having been afraid of her and resenting her for a long time for being, you know, rude and mean and this bad person that she was, she just becomes very nice and very, very kind and engaging and warm, and she's very fascinated in the world around her because she hasn't seen it. But I feel like the lesson to take away from that is to approach life with the sense of wonderment and the sense of, you know, courtesy, or at least a sense of wonderment that a child would. being amazed by, all this stuff and these places, and I have assistants that bring me things, and I get to do that, and I have cars sent to my house. What we need to bring out the inner 13-year-old in all of us. And one reason I like this movie actually is, I was excited going into it, was that 13 is my lucky number. I just kind of decided that a while back, a couple years ago. I guess at this point it was like over a year and a half ago. I just decided that. So I was like, ooh, 13, okay. And I was going to do this on the 13th because it's 13, but there's another movie that I'm saving for the 13th since that's my lucky number. That movie takes place in Toronto. I'm excited for that one because it's actually supposed to be extremely bad, but it looks like it's funny bad. Anyway, how long am I into this? I'll talk about I'll give my ratings breakdown. I gave the writing a 1.3 out of 2, even though it was fun and there were funny parts and there were amusing parts. It was, like I said, the wishing dust setup, but one thing I did like, actually, this was a 90-minute movie, 97 minutes. It was barely over an hour and a half, and I appreciate that. I don't like those, like the New Year's Eve and Valentine's Day and Love Actually. Even though I like Love Actually, those are all 2 hours. Movies that are 2 hours, that's enough for me. 2.5 hours is pushing it. There needs to be really good reason for something to be 2.5 hours. 90 minutes is great. And so I appreciate that they just, I don't think they did this necessarily with a sense of irony to make it be funny, but I like that they just got straight to the plot. And they were like, yep, wishing dust. There it is. They could have had a couple wise cracks maybe about how, like, oh, this is easy. Like, oh, this is moving the plot right along. That would have made it funny. That would have at least been like, okay, the writers are in on this. They know that this is silly. But so anyway, I gave the writing a 1.3 out of 2. I gave the acting a 1.6 out of 2, just because those 3 main people, Jennifer Garner, Mark Ruffalo, and Judy Greer, they all did good jobs, especially Jennifer Garner, in the way that Ellie Kemper, I think, did a good job as Kimmy Schmidt, just approaching the modern world with this sense of wonderment. I gave the directing a 1.5 out of 2. I was originally going to give it a 1.6 because of those kind of fun shots, but then I was just like, I don't know if it's, I just wasn't sure. And so I went back to 1.5 because I feel like that's still a generous place to start at. I gave the music a 1.7. Because of how fun it was, I normally probably would have given it a 1.8. I did a 1.9, but just since it seemed like it was only a soundtrack. There wasn't any like original music. It didn't seem like I just gave it a little bit. I didn't go as far as I might have otherwise. And as for the vibe of the movie, this is the first time I've done this. I gave this a 2.0 out of 2. For the vibe, just because I just liked it. I just really liked this movie. I enjoyed it from start to finish, and everything about this movie, even though I was rolling my eyes so hard at the wishing dust. I was about to say, like, they didn't even call it, like, angel dust, but then I realized angel dust is a thing. But so 1.3 plus 1.6 plus 1.5 plus 1.7 plus 2.0, I believe, is an 8.1 out of 10. Let me just make sure, actually. 9, 14, 21. Okay, yeah, so that's 8.1 out of 10. And that felt kind of high when I was adding that up earlier. I was like, is this worthy of an 8.1 out of 10? Because that's along with the, like Crazy Stupid Love and Something's Gotta Give, which was a very good movie, and Love Actually, which I enjoyed a lot. But I was looking at all the bits of the ratings breakdown, and I was like, no, I can't. I wouldn't give the writing lower than a 1.3. I wouldn't give the acting lower than 1.6. And I realized the thing that's dragging it up from maybe a 7.7, which is around what I would have expected, is the fact that I gave it a 2 out of 2 for the vibe, instead of what I've usually been giving is kind of in the 1.5 to 1.8 range. I think for New Year's Eve and Valentine's Day, I gave it like, a 0.2 out of 2. But so how much I just enjoyed watching the movie bumped it up into this kind of, I was going to say exclusive 8.0 range, but that's not. seems like it's not that exclusive. But so anyway, after a little bit. I didn't mean to gush about this movie for so long. But so anyway, I will see you all tomorrow. For February 10th, I'm going to be reviewing the movie Love, Simon, which I've never seen, but I've heard lots about it ever since it came out. So I'm excited to see that. But anyway, I hope you all have a lovely rest of your night. And yeah, Valentine's Day is coming. I was at the store earlier and there were a bunch of heart-shaped things and I was like, ooh, I'm excited for February 15th when all the candy goes on sale. I will be stocking up. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I will see you all tomorrow. Hopefully earlier than, it'll probably be 11:30 by the time I post this. But yeah, have a good night. Thanks. Bye.